majority of my wires are going to be under here. The security wires, the ignition wires, then my brake wires are going to be, it's just one wire down here. The parking light wire should be in the fuse box, and then my tack wire under the hood. So I'm going to remove panels to gain access to the wires I need, and then I'll be right back. Alright, we got all my ignition wires here. The security wires are here. Brake wire right there. Alright, one thing that I like to do is I don't like cutting into these main harnesses as far as running my wires over here. So a lot of times I'll look in the fuse box and see if I can find where all these wires go, and it looks like I've located them all in the fuse box, at the top of the fuse box. So I'm going to test the wires here to make sure they are the same, and if they are, I'm going to grab my wires here so I don't have to run the big heavy gauge wires into this harness here. I am still going to have to run the security wires here, but that's not going to take up much space, and that's why I prefer to go to the fuse box rather than over here to reduce the amount of the size of the wires that I add over here. So I'm going to test these and try to verify the wires, and if they are correct over here, I'm going to go ahead and start my wiring over here. So the first wire I'm going to test is going to be this white wire, the one on the far right. And now it should be 12 volts constant. And just a real quick view of how a multimeter works. You have a red lead and a black lead. A black lead should go to ground, and the red lead will go to the wire that we're trying to measure and measure the value of whatever we're looking for. So in this case, we're looking for DC voltage. We want approximately 12 volts DC. So I'm going to ground the black lead and essentially just find a piece of bare metal that you can attach it to. Now I'm going to poke the wire into the white wire, and on the meter we should have 12 volts. Yep, there we go, 12.9. Alright, so the next wire that I want to check for is ignition. This is going to be the blue wire, the one right beside it. So with the lead that I have on here, I'm just going to stick it right there where it's touching, and then I'll make sure that there's no part of this probe that's touching metal. So now I'm going to turn the key on, and when I do that, it should be the second position, and then the meter should read, there we go, 12 volts. Alright, so the next wire is going to be orange, and that is right here. So we got the orange wire. Now this should be accessory, so it should be the first click of the key. Okay, so maybe that's the second ignition. Alright, so we've got an orange and then red. So, oh, I think it may have been on the red one. double check. So definitely on orange. Check it. So we'll go to the one right beside it, which is red. Check it with the key, just so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, that is accessory. Again, one click shows voltage. And then the last one is yellow, and that's going to be the starter wire. So I'll put it, do the same thing. Put the lead in there with the wire, make sure nothing's touching metal. And I'm not going to leave the starter on too long, but you'll see when I go to start, when it starts to crank, we should have voltage on the meter. Okay, so I have verified that all of the ignition wires that are here are actually also over here. So I will be grabbing those wires, and my parking light wire should be over here, so I'm going to go ahead and show you that as well. And I'm going to guess it's this one or this one, but we're going to measure it just to make sure. So as soon as I find all these wires, we'll start making connections. I'm going to probe the wire and check for voltage. If there's no voltage on it now, then I'll come up to the switch here, and I found it. I just wanted to show, actually I'll go ahead and show you the brake wire too while we're testing. To the wiring information that I've got here, this tells me that the brake wire is light green at the pedal switch. So I can already tell there's only one light green wire. So I'm going to put this probe there. I'll set my meter. As I push the pedal, I should get 12 volts on that wire. Okay, what I'm going to show you here is how to test for a tack wire. Alright, so the easiest way is we're going to put the voltmeter on voltage AC, and then we're going to put the ground lead on the negative terminal on the battery. And then on the wiring information that I have, it says for the tack wire, any wire not black, white, black, or yellow black at any injector or any ignition coil. So here I am. We've got black, white on the far left, black in the middle, and then the off color on the right, on the far right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert this probe. Okay, this is a good sign. So I'm going to start the car, and we should have a fluctuation on the voltage. Here we got 1.75 volts, or 0.175 volts. I'm going to turn this, first I'm going to rev it up and let you see. And then for me, I'm going to turn around so I can verify it. Alright, so that's the tack wire. Okay, so we verified that this is the correct tack wire. I'm going to go ahead and make the connection, tidy up my wires, and then continue on. Just real quick, I want to point out this is the new tack wire. I'll get that buttoned up with wire ties, but you can see the connection was made under here. Alright, all of the connections are made. We got the tack wire done under the hood. We got the parking light wire here. I can tell the light's not very good, but parking light wire is hooked up here. All the main ignition wires are here. Brake wire is hooked up under here. So I'm going to go ahead and start the car. I'm going to press and hold. Lights on. Now light off. Alright, so the tack is learned. So now, since I don't have the bypass hooked up, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the key in the ignition and not turn anything and see if the remote start activates and runs. Alright, so that shows that the remote start is installed successfully, and I'm going to check the brake. Alright, pull the key out. Now I know that all I have to do is wire in the bypass and get it programmed, and then we're good to go. Alright, so I just made my connections. I left this a little bit open still. Plugged in the bypass to the remote start, and then I set it to data communication. That's the only thing I've done so far. Key in, turn on, one more, green, turn off, and now we should be, that should have taken care of our lock. With the door open, it doesn't want to lock, so it's 2 times. No. Okay, remote start. Let's see. Nice. Okay, and we'll shut it off with the remote start. Alright, now that I've verified that everything is operational, I'm going to go ahead and clean up the wires here, get everything tied up. I do have this antenna that needs mounted to the windshield, and I will be placing that up here. Alright, real quick run through. Here are the connections for the ignition and the parking lights. This is where the security bypass was installed. You can see wires ran. It is away from this U-joint. Everything's tied up. Safe and secure so it won't fall and get in the way of anybody's feet.